Welcome to our deep dive on the strategic dilemma of over-documentation in Form I-539 change of status filings. Today we will explore how to strike the right balance, providing enough evidence to satisfy the adjudicating officer while avoiding unnecessary documents that can slow down your case or trigger RFEs. We'll focus specifically on transitions from F-1 status to a dependent category, where the key objective is proving continuous lawful status up to the moment the new status takes effect. Here's the roadmap. First, we'll define the dilemma. Next, we'll clarify what USCIS really wants to see. Then, we'll detail what to include and what to avoid, followed by visual decision trees and workflow diagrams. After that, we'll show how to use the additional information section strategically, cover timing and authorized work periods, discuss edge cases, test your knowledge, and finally wrap up with key takeaways and a summary. Here's the tension. Applicants often think more documents equal a stronger case. However, immigration officers must review every page. Over-documentation can convert a straightforward change of status into a complex review, delay adjudication, and invite RFEs, because the officer now has to parse and interpret financial documents and details that are not required to prove lawful status. The core principles are: 1. Your main job is to prove you maintained lawful status without gaps. 2. The most persuasive evidence is status evidence. Documents like I-20S with proper notations, EADs for OPT, and your I-94, rather than financial documents. 3. Adding unnecessary materials tends to create ambiguity, which can trigger RFEs. And 4. Concise, complete, and relevant submissions typically move faster through adjudication. Before we move on, a crucial disclaimer. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Immigration cases turn on specific facts and regulatory nuances. You should consult a qualified immigration attorney for advice tailored to your situation. In a typical F-1 to dependent change of status, include all I-20Es that cover your history, your I-94 record, EAD cards for any OPT employment, and the I-20 notations that confirm CPT or OPT authorization. If relevant, include evidence that you complied with the grace period rules. Finally, you may add a concise, factual note in the additional information section to clarify dates or authorizations. This keeps the focus on status maintenance. This flowchart guides your decision on whether to include W-2s or tax returns. Start by asking whether your I-20, EAD, and I-94 already establish lawful status and authorized employment. If they do, check if the instructions explicitly require financial documents. If yes, include only the required financials. If not, omit them to prevent unnecessary review. If the status documents do not fully cover your case, consider whether there is a known gap or violation that financial records can clarify. If so, include only the minimal, targeted records with a short explanation. If not, prioritize fixing your status proof instead of adding financials. On the left is status proof, your I-20s, I-94, OPT EADs, and grace period compliance evidence. These documents directly show that you followed the rules of your status. On the right are financial documents, W-2s, tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements, and sponsor financials. These primarily prove income or resources, not maintenance of lawful status. Unless instructions require them or they clarify a specific issue, they may be unnecessary and can slow your case. Use the additional information section sparingly. Keep it short and factual, strictly referencing exact document titles and dates. For example, you can list OPT dates, the corresponding I-20 date, and the EAD validity period, and state when the I-539 was filed in relation to your status or grace period. Avoid duplicating the same content across multiple documents. Clarity and brevity help the officer quickly verify your status. This sequence diagram illustrates the life cycle of your application: submission to the lockbox, intake and digitization, assignment to an officer, and a review focused first on core status documents. If your packet presents a minimal sufficient set, the officer verifies authorized work efficiently. If over-documentation is present, the case may be diverted to extended review, and an RFE may be issued for context. Finally, a decision is recorded and communicated to you. Timing is critical. File your I-539 while you are still in valid status or during the applicable grace period. Make sure your I-20, CPT or OPT notations and any EAD cards align with the filing date. Remember, the end of employment is not necessarily the end of your status. Clearly document the transition from F-1 status to the new dependent status to demonstrate continuous compliance. Quiz time. The question is, which is the primary evidence to prove lawful F-1 status and authorized employment in a change of status packet? Option A is W-2s and full tax returns. Option B is I-20S with CPT or OPT notations, I-94, and an EAD if OPT was used. Option C is bank statements and pay stubs. Option D is employer reference letters. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. I-20s with CPT or OPT notations, your I-94, and an EAD if you used OPT are the primary documents that prove lawful status and authorized employment. Financial documents primarily demonstrate income and are not a substitute for status proof. This table summarizes a targeted checklist. Usually includes status proof such as all relevant I-20s, your I-94, and EAD cards for OPT. Sometimes include grace period evidence and a brief additional information note. Avoid duplicates and inconsistent copies. For authorized work, rely on I-20 notations and EAD validity dates. Avoid excessive employer letters. For financial documents, include none unless instructions require them or they clarify a specific gap. And avoid submitting full tax returns or large bundles of W-2s. Keep explanations short and factual. For edge cases, start by identifying the exact dates and the cause of any status gap. Then, add only the minimum clarifying evidence, which could include select pay stubs or a relevant W-2 snippet, not a full return. Provide a concise explanation that references specific I-20, EAD, or I-94 entries. If the instructions call for financial support documentation for dependents, include exactly what is requested and nothing more. Organize your packet so that core status documents come first, followed by any clarifiers and a short explanatory note. If you suspect a potential violation, consult an attorney as early as possible. Here's the second quiz question. When should you include financial documents like W-2s or tax returns in an I-539 COS from F-1? Option A says always include them to look thorough. Option B says only if the instructions explicitly require financial support documents or to clarify a known gap or violation. Option C says never include them. Option D says only if your employer suggests it. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. Include financial documents only when the application instructions explicitly require them or when they clarify a known status gap or potential violation. Submitting unrequested financials can slow down your case and increase the risk of RFEs. Here are the key takeaways. First, focus on proving lawful status, not income. Second, use the minimal sufficient set of documents for clarity and speed. Third, employ the additional information section sparingly to connect dates and authorizations. Fourth, treat financial documents as conditional. Include them only when required or helpful in clarifying a specific issue. Finally, rely on the decision tree and workflow understanding to keep your packet lean and precise. To summarize, USCIS primarily cares about continuous status maintenance. Over-documentation tends to slow cases and trigger RFEs. Include status documents by default, and only add financials when instructions require them or they clarify a known gap. Keep explanations brief, dated, and tied to specific I-20, EAD, or I-94 entries. Finally, ensure your timeline shows a seamless transition from F-1 to the new status. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, share it with someone who could benefit, and subscribe for more strategic immigration content. In the comments, tell us, what's your biggest question about choosing the right evidence for I-539 filings? Your insights can help others.